Go Ask Alice is a show intended for adult audiences, because adults want to learn too. Sometimes we cover sensitive material, so please take care of yourselves, and listener discretion is advised. Now on to the show.
Hello, internet friends, and welcome to another episode of Go Ask Alice, the show where we jump down random internet rabbit holes and bring you the most wonderful factoids from our adventures in Wiki Wonderland. I'm Sara, and I have, I want to believe, Agent Mulder poster in my office in a legitimate astrophysics building. And with me is...
I'm Lindsay, and I'm still allergic to celery.
What? I didn't know that.
I hate celery.
Yeah, it's not great.
Tastes like dish soap.
And acid.
I'm Gene, and I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
Don't we all?
This is the show where we jump down random internet rabbit holes. We all start on the same wiki page every week, and we wander around the article using hyperlinks until we stray far and wide across the great, vast internet of knowledge. We find something that we cannot stop reading, and then we learn all about it and share it with each other and with all of you. This week we started on gas. You know it. You love it. Gas.
You make it.
You make it.
Did we start on different pages for gas? Because I started on gas as in like the gas, like big oil, big gas.
I started on like the phase of matter.
I think that's what I started on. But I wasn't there for long. I was just like, who cares? Gas is dumb.
Fair enough. Yeah, I definitely moved away very quickly.
Yeah.
Where did everyone end up?
I ended up on soup.
Oh my God.
I love that you went from like a fundamental, like, is it solid gas or liquid to is it bread, soup or sandwich? Have you seen, pizza sandwich soup? Have you seen that argument that all foods can be sorted into like salad, soup or sandwich? That's it, salad, soup or sandwich.
For a second, you sounded like a totally crazy person. I was like, what is happening right now?
What Sarah's saying is that you ended up in another state of matter.
Yeah. I went from gas to liquid. Absolutely.
A culinary state of matter. All right. Well, mine is not that different, but also extremely different. I landed on the yogurt connection.
What is that?
Okay.
I like
You'll
yogurt.
have to find out.
Oh,
Your spoiler makes a little bit more sense now, I guess.
And I landed on something called, now quotation marks, a grotesque old woman.
Oh shit, yeah.
That's it.
I can't wait for that one.
Before we dive in, we've got to do question of the week.
Oh my gosh.
And this week's question is, what is another name? I might phrase it a bit incorrectly, but yeah, what is another name that you really like that's not your name? Is that not, how is it phrased, Lindsay?
No, the question is...
I thought that was it, because my answer was Lucy.
The question this week is, what is a common name near you that you actually kind of like?
Oh, like common as in like where you live?
Yeah, what did you think I meant?
You're here
I
often.
misunderstood the assignment. I just thought another name that you would be happy being called.
Oh, that would be cool too, as a question.
No, it's like, what's like a name that's like very popular that you're not sick of?
I like Rebecca's. That's a popular name, but I'm not sick of it.
That's a great answer.
And like the Rihannas or Rhiannons in Australia, where there was a lot of them in my grade, so I was a bit sick of that.
Really?
Yeah, that was quite popular.
I blame Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, and I'm also a Fleetwood Mac name baby, so we're the problem. It's us. Hi.
Fleetwood Mac was fundamental in Australia, it seems.
What about you guys? What are common names that you are not sick of?
I love the name Brooke.
Oh, yeah. Brooke's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since Sarah did one she hates, why don't you do the one as well?
Yeah.
Oh, Ashley.
Oh, straight to the point.
Ashley's not super common here.
What?
No one I know is named... Oh, there was an ex-girlfriend of my brother named Ashley, but I believe that is one of the only Ashleys I've ever encountered.
Yeah.
At least in my circle of beings.
I'm not a big fan of Ashley's either. Sorry to all. By the way, we apologize if your names are listed. as
Wait, you know what?
the
Yeah,
ones
we just
we're
were
not
like,
fans of.
how about we take really common names that apply to a lot of people and just insult as many people as possible by saying we hate them? Well, I don't hate Ashley. It just so happens that every Ashley I've ever met has been a bully. But here's the huge,
Well, yeah, that's how it always is.
but the huge but is that people who have Ashley as their middle name and use it as their first name are extremely nice. I know 2 Ashleys who I fucking love, and Ashley is not their real name.
That's a paradox of the universe for sure.
It all holds up. What are your answers, Jean?
I love a Sam, whether it's a Samuel or a Samantha. Love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sams are always good. Good value
So good.
people.
They are. And then there's a lot of children named Giannas right now in New Jersey.
Gianna.
Hate it.
I don't
Hate
think
it.
I've ever heard that in Australia.
Gianna's very Italian.
It's very Italian. No offense to Italian names, but ooh, the Giannas I know, and they're all children. Ooh.
We also had a few listener submissions. So on Twitter, Dad Revenue says Sebastian.
Good
I
name.
like Sebastian. That's a good
That
name.
is also not
It does
common
make me
at
think of the crab,
all
though.
Here.
Yeah. I also think of
Under the
crabs.
sea.
Cake Mastermind, who is our new patron, by the way. Can we just take a second? Thank you so much, Cake Mastermind. Drew normally gives smoochies to all of our new patrons, but because I'm a lady, I'm going to give you a firm handshake.
Firm and assertive.
Thanks, Cake Mastermind, for your patronage.
Thank you, Cake Master.
What did Cake Mastermind say for their name?
Their answer was they gave a boy's name and a girl's name. They gave Jennifer and Alexander.
Oh,
I
I
like
love
Jennifer's.
an Alex. Yeah.
All around, everyone agrees. Geist,
Everyone agrees.
our BFF ever, Geist, says Jack because it makes them think of sturdy people like lumberjacks. I loved that answer.
Yeah.
Oh,
totally.
yeah. Actually, I've never met a bad Jack. Jack's
Jack's
a great.
always, yeah, always
Same,
so chummy. And Moth gives Emily.
And yeah.
Emily's are also very nice.
Yeah. I don't have issues with Emily's.
Good choices, everyone. If you want to answer our question of the week and also be on the podcast, you can find us at Go Ask Alice Pod on Twitter and Go Ask Alice Podcast on Instagram, or just Sarah Webb Science. You could just write things in the comments to Sarah completely.
You can.
anonymously.
Look,
Unless it's on
lots of science,
Instagram.
but I'll sprinkle in the weird history facts as well, because we've got a lot of them.
Or you can find us on Discord, and we have a question of the week channel where you can argue your answers, justify them, or write really long and exciting epic stories about that time you were drunk and lost in Bulgaria or wherever Swashplate was.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Alrighty. Where should we dive in?
It's hard because
Oh, I was going to say, all I can say is I have soup. So wherever you want to throw that in.
yeah, it's like mine's like food but not food. And if Sarah's is like, why don't we do like Sarah, me, Jean? Does that make sense? But like I could be a bridge between food and not food, or
Yeah,
do
yeah.
Jean, me, Sarah.
I'm happy to do food, not food. Bridging.
Let's do Sarah, me, Jean.
Yeah. Alrighty, so we'll start grotesque and talk about food later.
Yeah. Palate cleanser, and then we'll all leave off hungry.
Work up an appetite.
Okay, so I landed on, in quotation marks, a grotesque old woman. Before I send anything into the business, or before I give you any information, I want to know, what on earth do you think my topic is, or what I'm talking about? What do you think it is?
Oh, I might
Jean
know.
Jean knows.
Do I know? Is it a drawing?
It is a painting.
What? How did you get
It is
that?
Wait, okay, so I might be wrong then, because I'm thinking of a straight up like line drawing, not a painting.
No. Okay, so there is a line drawing that's very similar, which I'll get to, by Leonardo da Vinci.
Okay, I might be
But
wrong.
this is a painting. Yeah, this is a painting by an artist in the Netherlands. And again, this was around the similar time as Leonardo da Vinci, because they did correspond in their lifetimes. But this was 1533, so we're going back a few hundred years. quite a few hundred years. And it was by an artist called Quentin Mateus. And he was really famous for his style of paintings in oil on different oak panels, and he developed some techniques. And I'm not going to go into like the history of him, but I wanted to go into the history of this painting because I think it's really cool.
Okay.
So it's called A Grotesque Old Woman. And I'm going to pop a painting, the picture of it, into the Discord now. And I would like just like a one sentence explainer of what you see.
I want to hear from our resident expert, Jean. Resident fine arts expert.
I did this to myself.
Hoisted by your own petard.
I was actually thinking it was, you know that psychology painting where you look at it and it's like you either see a beautiful woman depending on how your brain processes the picture, or you see like the face of the, oh my God, Sarah. That's not a woman, that's a gremlin.
Oh my God, what is that?
Look at her boobs. That's not a woman.
Those don't even look like boobs. Those look like really angry pecs.
They do look a bit peckish, a bit muscly.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best attempt.
One sentence explainer of this poor lady.
Oh my God, one sentence. Horribly wrinkly old man with boobs, wrinkly boobs, wearing funny hat.
Okay.
That's my one sentence. I can't.
It is very more masculine looking, very very strong bone structure around the face. Lindsay, do you have anything you want to add?
This looks like if you brought a gargoyle to life and challenged it to try to balance two different oven mitts on its head at the same time while trying to drape it with a sheet.
Alrighty.
Wait, you know,
so
to be fair, I say man because that is straight up male pattern baldness right there. You can't argue that.
You can't argue that.
We'll get to what's happening, but for now, I'm gonna use pronouns she, her for her because she has been designated as a woman.
Okay.
And I'll get into why. We'll get into why I think it could be based more on fact than a fictional character.
Okay.
Or like someone's imagination in a little bit. But this is her. This is also known as the Ugly Duchess. What's amazing is for a very long time, and even still, she's considered as one of the first like satirical portrait paintings from 500 years ago, which when I look at it, I definitely see resemblances to like, you know, Mad Magazine drawing or political satire commentary drawings. So this very similar.
Okay, 500 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
I literally can't stop staring.
Jean is fixated by her very strong looking boobies.
Captivated.
I was able to click away very easily.
Just trying to understand.
Let me help you a little bit. So she is an oil painting on oak panel, and it's a pretty detailed, pretty beautiful painting, like if you look at the artistry behind the actual painting.
Totally.
And it shows in general this kind of grotesque woman looking feature, like a woman that's not classic beauty standards. And so she has wrinkled skin, you know, weathered breasts. She's kind of like in a juxtaposition because she doesn't look like she fits the clothing she's wearing. So as Lindsay tried to describe, it looks like she's got oven mitts and like a sheet on her head. That is a very special type of headdress called an S coffin, and it's like a horned headdress that was popular of about late 1400s to very early 1500s. And it was the fashion of the time as the painting, but fashion was changing so quickly back then that by the time the painting was finished, she was already out of style.
Oh my God.
Which I thought was pretty amazing.
It'd be like if
and
somebody...
I don't know whether that was on purpose.
Oh, I was going to say, that'd be like if someone painted you right now in like your jazzercise clothes or a pantsuit.
Yeah. And then in 100 years, we're wearing... God knows what, like astronaut suits everywhere.
Well, not even. I mean, it's like, you know, you said it's changing quickly, so I'm just trying to imagine somebody wearing like 80s clothes, although 80s are coming back now, but
80s are coming back. Yeah, it's like kind of like, it wasn't a fad fashion, but it was a quickly evolving fashions. And so some more details about her is that in her right hand, she's holding a little red flower that hasn't kind of bloomed properly yet. And so this has been described as kind of, it's a bud, a flower bud, that will likely never blossom. And the symbolism behind it in her right hand is that it could be a symbol of her engagement or her indicating that she is ready to be wed. And so this is the artist. This is one of his best known works of art. And there's some speculation that it could have been influenced by this essay called The Praise of Folly, which kind of satirizes women who still play the croquet. So this kind of satirizes women who, you know, maybe acting a little bit too young for their age, who are like wearing things that are maybe a little bit more inappropriate, you know, playing games that young ladies would play. And in the actual essay, this Praise of Folly, there's a line in it that says of these women who do not hesitate to exhibit their repulsive withered breasts, which is harsh. But again, 500 years ago, we had some different beauty standards.
He did a really good job capturing those.
He did. They are very well captured.
Like, okay.
Jean's still looking.
Jean, they're looking back.
So, Jean, I'm going to get you to bring your eyes up just a little bit to her face, because we're going to talk about that now.
Her eyes are up here, Jean.
Her eyes are up here.
I swear I'm not
her
usually
eyes
like
really
this.
are. They really are up there. Like, she's got very high set eyes, very long mouth, and we see that she's kind of got like this loose skin hanging around her jaw. She's kind of weathered and wrinkled, and we don't see much of her hair, so we can't really tell her age based on like if she was graying or not, because we can't really see her hair because it's hidden by that weird headdress crown type of thing. And so what is really interesting is that she's kind of fitted into this, like, these beauty standards of what youthful women should have looked like back in the day. But obviously she doesn't really fit that. But she appears to be a lady of worth or money because she has quite an expensive looking gold brooch on top of her hat. She's wearing her hat is really intricate and looks like it's been like finely embroidered with artistry. So she's not just some crazy lady off the street. She's a lady of substance, but people think the satire comes behind the fact that when people look at her with these quote-unquote ugly features and kind of advanced aged, and the fact she kind of looks like she's ready to wed but she's past the marriage age, all of that sort of stuff is the satire. It's kind of like this, you wouldn't give her a second thought, which is really harsh.
Yeah, like you dressed up this ugly thing.
Yeah.
This would be a great Gertrude.
Yeah.
She would be a good Gertrude.
That's for you, Geist. I'm pretty sure it was Geist who put that name in my head because the Discord chat became, what are old people names that you give to babies or something like that.
I love Gertrude. I think that's excellent.
This is a Gertrude.
Gertrude, we'll lovingly call her Gertrude. We could have gotten her all wrong because, so this painting's been around for hundreds of years. By the late 1800s, people started to look at this painting and see similarities between a disease that people were experiencing.
Oh, shit.
And they're like, oh my goodness, is she a representation of someone who suffered from this disease? So in 1887, Sir James Paget observed this medical disorder where the bones become inflamed and malformed. And now in 21st century science, we know that there's like structural problems around the bones, which can cause them to like grow rapidly or not grow at all. And there's a couple of different forms of it, but her facial shape and her facial features are quite similar to what people with Paget's disease look like. And I'm going to put a picture now.
Sarah, oh my God, you totally trapped us. You were like, tell everybody
I
how
know.
ugly this is. And then you're like,
I
guess
know.
what? You're a horrible person. Here's a real disease.
You should feel horrible.
Sarah's got to go to the
I don't
apology
know.
corner.
I don't even see the second picture yet, and I already feel horrible.
I know, me too. I'm like, I don't even want to see this. I don't want to see a real person who looks like what I just made fun of.
This was a total setup. Look at her maniacally
So
cackling.
maniacal. Because the whole time I'm like, I think she looks really sweet. Like, I was trying to give you guys the benefit of the doubt of the cute little old lady. But
Did you really think I was going to be like, that looks like a cute old person?
I thought she looked really interesting. I thought she'd look like people I had seen before. And so I went in saying, I reckon she's representing a disease because I had seen
You know what it is?
similar.
You know what it is? Let's put the blame where it belongs. Jean and I are ugly people on the inside.
I thought you were just going to say Jean.
Ugly
End
people.
it there.
Let's put the blame where it belongs. Jean.
I was like,
Hundreds
shit.
and hundreds of people for hundreds and hundreds of years assume the same thing.
I mean, that doesn't
that she
make
was
it
just
right.
made grotesque quotation mark. So I've put in a couple of photos now into the business.
Oh, wow.
These just look like
That
normal old
second
people.
one. I mean, the first one's pretty normal looking for old, but that second one is like, what is happening?
That looks like the second one, just for all of our listeners, the second one kind of actually looks like what happens if you have inflamed lymph nodes. Like, it's just like, your jowls kind of become, more rectangular.
Yeah.
I was going to
but hers
say,
are mainly bone.
the second one looks like me a couple of days post rhinoplasty.
Okay.
Where my face swelled up and all went down to my cheeks.
These people look very normal to me.
But I can see the resemblance to the painting.
I've just uploaded to the drive it's a sketch, so it is like pencil on parchment type sketch. And is this the one you were thinking of, Jean?
It is not, no.
Oh, okay. So this is by Leonardo da Vinci, and it looks remarkably similar.
I was going to say, that's her.
It is so similar, it's not even funny. But the interesting thing is that they have records that these two painters discussed. They lived in the same period, and they can't figure out which one came first, the sketch or the painting, or if it was kind of maybe a collaboration or a discussion of ideas, which I think is really interesting. So both of these things look incredibly similar, and both by very different types of artists.
Yeah, like I feel like if I was an artist, I would look at that person, if this came from a real person, and think like that would be so interesting to capture. There are so many wrinkles. The expression is unlike anything I've ever had to capture because all of the facial bones don't do what you expect them to do. Like, it seems like a very interesting challenge.
Yeah, which I think is really cool. And I thought I'd wrap up on though, because it's a really famous painting. And it's been admired, again, hundreds of years. But what's really cool is it might have contributed to some imagery for Alice in Wonderland, which matches perfectly because we're Go Ask Alice, we're jumping down internet rabbit holes. So, has anyone ever seen the character of the Duchess in Alice in Wonderland in some of the original sketches?
Maybe.
So it looks really similar. She has the same type of headdress. She has very similar bone features and eyes. And people think that maybe so the author, Lewis Carroll, described the character as Alice did not much like keeping so close to her. First, because the Duchess was very ugly. And secondly, because she was exactly the right height to rest her chin upon Alice's shoulder. And it was uncomfortably sharp. And it was an uncomfortably sharp chin. So it was kind of like short, ugly, pointy-chinned character. And then John Tinnels, who illustrated imagery for one of the first kind of passes of the imagery, has been known to maybe have turned to the Grotesque Old Woman as inspiration for this little Duchess character, which I thought was really, really cool.
I mean, that's kind of neat to think that like artists colloquially like this was their touchstone for like, what's ugly? Oh, the grotesque old woman. That's what ugly looks like. Okay, like that's my reference.
So then it's just been passed down for hundreds of years of like a beauty standard again, which they suck, but they exist. But yeah, so that's my story of, we've named her Gertrude. I quite like her. Or the Grotesque Old Woman, which we'll have pictures on all of our socials, so you can go and admire her cute little face. She looks like she's ready for a party, the poor love. She just wants to go out.
I feel like when I'm like 80 years old, I'm going to look like her.
Boobs and all.
Boobs and all. Crushed by bodice. You never know these days.
Amazing.
Awesome, Sarah.
Well,
Very
I hope
good.
you liked her.
Yes.
Yeah, I've never heard of this before, and I feel bad, but I'm also like, she's kind of awesome now, so.
That was extremely interesting.
Good. I'm glad you like. I thought the medical twist was really cool because I didn't see that coming.
You fucking got us. You fucking. I'm gonna make them say she's ugly, and then I'm gonna say it's a medical issue, and make them feel like the garbage that they are.
I'm gonna expose them once and for all.
We're projecting.
Everyone thinks that Jean is so nice. Here it is.
I called her a man. I was like, that's a man. Although, you know what? I will say, kind of looks like a drag queen, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, she does, because she has more like traditionally masculine features. Because that's what I thought when I first clicked on it. I went, "Oh my goodness, is this a drag, like a yoldy drag queen?" Until I started reading, because I was going to be like, "Man, that is epic!" If we had like Renaissance drag queens, which I'm sure probably somewhere there would have been.
They're nice.
We love it.
We do.
Alrighty.
As promised, here's the yogurt connection.
Straight to it.
I don't know how I got here, but somehow I went through Chernobyl. That's all I remember.
Wow.
But the yogurt connection actually has a lot to do with, I don't know if you remember my Balloon Boy hoax and the kind of setting. It was like a small town family kind of drama that blew up to like international scales. That's the yogurt connection. So the name itself actually comes from the fact that the people involved were, this was kind of like a nickname given to the situation, that the family involved had a Yogo franchise. And I put that in the spoilers channel. Yogo is a type of yogurt that is apparently sold in Australia. I do not think we have it here.
Yeah, as a kid, so they were, I'm pretty sure it was Yogo brand, but they were long tubes. And the commercial was rip my head off, suck my guts up. And so you rip the bit of the tube and then you just suck up all of the yogurt out of the tube. And they were delicious. They were so delicious.
We definitely had Yogos in the States, Lindsay.
No, we had Go-Gurt.
Is that not the same thing?
I thought they were the similar thing.
No, Yogo is a different brand. Yogo has like a gorilla.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Are Yogos the one with M&Ms?
I put it in the spoilers channel if you want to take a look. Oh, it might be kind of buried now.
Let me have a look.
Let me see.
Rip the head off, suck the guts out. That's going to stick with
you. Yogo is sold...
I do not remember those Kellogg's. Oh, yeah, so the Yogo with choc chips, yeah. So they come with like a container of yogurt. I still eat these as an adult. They have adult versions. And then a little sub-container of stuff that you mix in. So you could get like M&Ms or choc chips or berries or whatever. And you like break it off and you flip it in. They are so delicious, it's not even funny. Please tell me I can still eat them.
Well, what doesn't make any sense to me is that the headquarters of this company are in Melbourne, and this takes place in rural Indiana. Okay.
Were they trying to branch out?
Well, let me put a huge preface on this. This was not only an incredibly interesting article, but every single sentence, somebody flagged it on Wikipedia saying citation needed. So what I'm about to say needs a huge asterisk because a lot of it is unfounded.
It could be bullshit.
But the other
so good.
What I'm going to focus on is what I was able to verify myself. So most of my research on the topic was off-roading into news articles from the 1980s. So I ended up writing more than half of this article on Wikipedia because I couldn't in good conscience talk about it on the show and not actually give back to society. So I updated the article with those hyperlinks. Jesus Christ.
Lindsay is the best human in the world.
She is.
Well, not after your session, Sarah. After my behavior in the last segment.
No, this is karma. You're trying to make up for it.
Oh, man. The
universe accepts your efforts.
So, to get back to your question, Sarah, like, does it ruin Yogo for you or for anybody else? I have no idea because I know that it's called the yogurt connection, and I know that the yogurt bit comes from the family's Yogo franchise, but that did not have a citation. So I have no idea how they are connected to Yogo because here's what actually happened. This family was involved in one of the biggest drug rings in American history.
Nice.
Wow. Are they like mafia Italian gangster type drug lords?
Not at all. This small Indiana family, just Midwest rural, well, okay, these guys are from Indianapolis, which is not very rural at all. But it extends, depending on the source, there's like 30 to 40 people involved in this ring. And at the end of it, they ended up moving, this was in the 1980s, for the time, they ended up moving somewhere between $50 to $100 million worth of drugs.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Please tell me they did it in yogurt.
They did it selling Dr. Bronner's soap.
Why?
I'm so confused.
Why isn't it called the Soap Connection?
Well, so it says originally they were selling Dr. Bronner's natural Castile soap. So for anybody who doesn't know, Dr. Bronner's is a soap brand that is, I think, literally called 18 in 1. You should be able to use it for literally fucking anything in your life. And the labels have loads of Bible quotes all over them. Just the whole thing is a trip. Oh my God.
They are fascinating to read in the supermarket.
Yes. The first time I ever encountered one was in like my dorm, like public showers at college, and I was like, where the fuck am I? Like, whoa, why is this normal enough for people to bring in the shower?
I heard that when they first started doing that, it was kind of like people read things while they're in the shower or on the toilet. Anyway, let's just stick our own agenda on there, and people won't notice until they start to read.
Yeah, that really is basically what it is.
That's really smart.
Evil.
It is. It's insidious. So in 1975, Linda Leary and her two sons, Richard Hilbrun and Paul Hilbrun, organized this drug ring. And back then in the 1970s, they were selling Dr. Bronner's soap through a health food store that they had started up called Hilbrun and Friends. And their friends were a bunch of high schoolers that were friends with the boys who sold marijuana through their connections at school.
Okay.
And apparently somehow, again, I cannot find the citation, or, you know, I hope by the time this episode is published, or I hope after this episode is published, people go and contribute to the article and add citations. I don't completely understand the connection to the Yogo franchise, especially because it's Australian and these people are in Indianapolis. But you're right. It should have been called the Soap Connection. So these guys ended up moving about 250,000 pounds of, let me get all these countries, of weed.
Wow.
That's so much.
That's like a lot of effort to move, because it's not light for the amount, like considering how much money they made from it, that's a lot of weed, right?
Yes, that it's a fuck ton of weed.
Obscene.
Yeah, and it's like I said, $100 million in the 80s.
That's a lot of money.
This is probably wrong to say, but I'm so envious. Wait, did they get in trouble and found out? Because if I could pull that shit off, I wouldn't hesitate for a second.
Well, so not only
this is now on recording forever, so if Gene's ever caught as a drug lord, they play this at his court hearing.
It's too late. It's legal in New Jersey. It's not happening.
Well, back then, right, it was super, super not legal. And they also branched into cocaine a little bit, but I couldn't find the statistics on the amount. They dabbled in cocaine. Their operation lasted 12 years. And the reason they were able to get away with it was because their image was pristine. These were upstanding members of the community who spent their time with the League of Women Voters. They raised fundraisers for a city zoo. They were one of the quotes.
The zoo was dirty money.
Dude, they were good people.
All the while, they're money laundering in the Bahamas and Panama with fake accounts and fake businesses for 12 years. One of my favorite quotes I found from a news article in the 80s was that authorities reported that individuals hired to count money were told not to bother with the $1 bills.
That's rich. You know you're rich when you can put aside your ones and not count them.
Those are the error bars, right? Like, who the fuck cares? Don't even bother.
Wow.
So they were members of tennis clubs, like rubbing elbows with the mayor, even funding the mayor with their drug money, all in Indianapolis, all in Indiana. Another quote that I had come across was that the woman, Linda Leary, aided inner city school immunization programs for children and child care centers, particularly in poverty-stricken areas. And at the time where I got this quote from, this was during her trial, and the judge said that he found it incredibly ironic that she was also funneling drugs into the same communities.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, who was the main consumer?
The parents of these vulnerable children.
And I'm normally not into drug cases or court cases kind of in general, but what you just said, Sarah, was something that was brought up in court that I actually found really moving, because the defense, which was, Linda Leary, was trying to say, oh, she was innocent, like it was her sons and she's a loving mother, and like a loving mother doesn't look at right and wrong when it's her sons. And the judge was like, I am here representing all of the mothers and fathers of all of the families that you guys affected. Like, so if you want to play that argument, like, fuck you, pretty much. That's a numbers game. Surprisingly, the most interesting aspect of this story I found while I was digging, and it was not in the wiki article at all. So I added this to the wiki article. One of their accomplices, so there were maybe, like I said, about 30 to 40 people, depending on what news article you read and when it was published, because this was hot news as it was coming out.
That's so many people to keep quiet for 15 years.
And across multiple states, because like I said, this was also... Yeah.
The police did not have it together.
I'm going to cut to the end and say they absolutely got jail time, and they made it worse. Okay. I'm going to tell you that in a second.
Good. Okay.
That's kind of the fallout. But I want to talk a little bit about them getting caught and what happened when they got caught. And so the most interesting account I read was a firsthand account from an FBI agent who was in, let me get this right, Michigan. An FBI agent in Michigan was trying to figure out who was involved in this ring because there were so many people. And they got to the point where they had a list of everybody who was involved, but there were 3 people who had aliases that nobody could figure out. So there were these 2 women called Tipper and Topper, and there was a man called the Joker. And this FBI agent made it his mission to figure out who was the Joker, because one of the men who was like at the top, like the woman's sons, this was his right-hand man, was the Joker. And he was operating across state lines. This was the guy who was in Michigan.
Oh my God, this sounds like it should be a movie. This FBI agent desperately hunting down Tip, Top, and Joker.
Well, he wrote this article from his own point of view of what happened. And what was interesting was he had gotten a tip somewhere that somebody might be able to identify the Joker. And so he starts meeting up with this person in coffee shops. And over time, they just have like really casual conversations about like politics and sports. And eventually it turns into drugs. And eventually he wins this guy's trust, and he's like, I'm trying to identify the Joker. And the guy identifies him as a man whose last name is Hill. I forgot his first name.
Please tell me that the man he was talking to in the coffee shop was the Joker.
Oh, no, I fucking thought that was exactly where it was going. No.
That would have been an excellent plot twist.
He identified the man as James Hill. And like I said, this drug ring had been going on for 12 years. So this Joker was able to get away with what was going on for about 12 years. And when he figured out who it was, the man was identified as James Hill, still living in Michigan, owned an ice cream shop called the Lovin' Spoonful, just stand-up member of the community, and only had a single minor traffic violation on his record. As soon as the cops showed up, he willingly went with them. He was very cooperative, and because he was so cooperative, his sentence was shortened. Well, I don't know about shortened, but they gave him an easier time, and he only got 20 years in prison.
Okay.
James Hill, everyone. But what happened to Linda Leary and her 2 sons? Well, when shit started to hit the fan, they fucking fled to Austria.
I was going to say, did they run?
They ran for it. And what was so funny was I was going through court records, and they were like, she never did that. And they were like, so we have it like on file that she full on bought a house in Austria. Like, yes, she did that.
She never did that. Your Honor, she bought a house and set up a family.
So everybody got convicted. Everybody was found guilty. Everybody got a ton of jail time. I think it's ruined. I think it is rumored that one of the other people involved, so not the woman or her sons, one of the people involved committed suicide in jail, who was, I think, fled to Canada himself. It seems like everybody just scattered.
Scattered, run. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel bad because there's really only just a few paragraphs. And I'm trying to imagine these like very rural states like Michigan and Indiana getting totally rocked with one of the biggest drug rings in history. And what's crazy is like, you don't ever expect that to be happening on the Canadian border. Like people always, like Hollywood is always like, oh, drugs and craziness and let's flee to Mexico. And it's like, there's a whole other border where you can run away, and it's Canada right there. Like, we don't have crazy.
But it's so cold up there.
Gene, it's so cold.
So I just want to leave you with a little bit of excitement, a little bit of mystery. A string of unsolved murders are also attributed to the gang, including the 1976 death of Philip Winkler, the son of an Indianapolis oil company executive. None were ever prosecuted. So,
and does it say that? It doesn't say why they are attributed, or just we think there's a connection somewhere?
The wiki article points to a source. I don't know if it's from, I believe it's from People magazine, so I don't even know how much detail it's going to go into. I really think it's just one of those things where the account itself, despite being huge and important, has very little information on it. It's like as sparse as the wiki article, and it's interesting that even then, yeah, sure enough, I'm looking at People magazine when I click the link. I don't know how reliable that's going to be. But it's yeah, and it was very hard to find any updates on this. I mean, the guys, the FBI agent's personal account was in 2017, but other than that, all of the accounts I found were from the 80s themselves. So it's kind of crazy that something that was so big and controversial could just blow over, over just like a couple decades. Like it's like,
and they're probably out of jail by now, right? If the main guy only got 20 years.
You're absolutely right. Linda Leary was released from prison in 1992, and the Helbrun brothers were released in 94 and 2003. So
wow.
They are walking among us.
And no one cares.
And no one, yeah.
I hate it here.
So Sarah, now that you know the whole story, are you going to keep eating yoga? Like, what do you feel?
I feel like that's
really
such a
good.
stretch.
I'm going to try to figure out where the connection is. But I wonder if it's just not a connection. That is just so bizarre.
I don't know.
I will do some Googling. But anyone who can see a yogurt, recommend. They are delicious. If they still exist. There's another brand called Chobani that does like a similar adult version of the flip.
Yeah, we have
We
that
do
in the
have
States.
Chobani.
Oh,
Yeah.
They are magic. Your Chobanis are so much better than ours. Like, you can get s'mores flavor.
S'mores.
S'mores. So good.
All right. Well, that's the yogurt connection.
I am so glad I learned that. That is not what I thought it was going to be at all.
No.
And that is fascinating.
Like literally wiki, like first few words. Yogurt connection was a drug smuggling ring. And I was like, what the fuck?
And I love that they were one of the biggest drug smuggling rings with just weed. Like...
And a little bit of cocaine.
I mean, they...
impressive.
Yeah, a smidge of cocaine.
In the US, it's true. Smidge of cocaine, yeah. I mean, that drives up your value, hey?
A little bit.
From all of the TV shows I've watched, I feel like that's where you earn your money.
If it wasn't lucrative, people wouldn't do it. Done. Let's talk about soup.
I guarantee there's going to be, like, no drugs, no money laundering, no nothing in soup.
No, it's wholesome.
And I would be... Okay, I was going to say I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but give us the wholesome...
I mean, there's some good tidbits in here. It's soup. Everyone knows what soup is. I was like, should I do this? Should I not do this? I don't know. But I did it. So...
Were you hungry when you were picking a topic?
I'm just going to say, yeah. I don't know. I don't remember. I've never spent so long on a goddamn topic before. Like, soup of all things. I didn't know where to start, where to stop, so I'm just going to jump right in with some random facts if that's okay.
Yeah,
All
of
right.
course.
All right, soup. Did you know that there's evidence of soup going back all the way to 20,000 BC?
What?
Holy crap. If you're going to say 2,000, yeah.
20,000.
Sure. 20,000.
Based on
Where?
ancient pottery found in Chinese caverns, of all places. And
Oh, that's amazing.
on top of that, like, what would you do if you didn't have pottery? Like, if your tribe or whatever didn't invent pottery yet? You would use animal hides and watertight baskets made out of plant materials as vessels, and then you would put that on hot rocks, and it would heat up the water inside, maybe even boil it,
That's
and make you soup.
amazing.
History.
We also covered a civilization in, I think it was South America, where they used, like, what are they called? Gourds? Like big
Yeah.
pumpkins.
Yeah,
Hollow
gourds.
them out, use them as their storage containers or
Absolutely.
bowls or whatever.
I have one in my
That would be
garage.
Oh my god, that would be an excellent soup vessel because you'd get all of the nice pumpkin-y flesh in there.
Ooh. Oh yeah, like
I'm
like
getting
like
hungry.
when they give you soup in a bread bowl. Holy shit, I didn't research that. But that's so
Soup
good.
or like chowder in a bread bowl that you can get from Disneyland.
Absolutely.
I'm gone.
We're all
That's
gone.
how I would like to die. Thank you.
Only in Disneyland, folks.
Oh, Disneyland is a
That's the only
magical,
place.
chaotic place.
Anyway,
That is chaotic good right there.
did you know that the word soup comes from the French word soup, which means soup? I didn't. But let's take a deeper dive. To be fair, by the way, it's soup with an E on the end of it. But
Becoming a poster. Did you know the word soup came from the word
no, what have I done?
I'm crying.
But
Oh,
the French got their word soup from the vulgar Latin word soupa, which means bread soaked in broth. It's very interesting. Also,
There it
vulgar
is.
Latin, if you don't know what vulgar Latin is, it's basically like slang Latin, like, which is a thing,
amazing.
which I didn't know either.
I would have spoken the vulgar Latin back in the day.
Hell yeah, vulgar
Would have been the
Latin.
language of my people. Did you know soup came from the words? If anyone would like that custom-made poster, it will be going up in the Patreon when this episode is released.
Oh, okay. Here's another interesting little story. We can partially thank soup for the word restaurant. Why?
Oh,
Because it was first used in early 16th century when a highly concentrated and cheap soup was sold by a street vendor in France who advertised it as a restorative antidote for physical exhaustion. It is therefore likely that the 16th century word restaurant, as I assume a French person would say, originally meant restorative beverage, and soon after that it definitely meant that which restores strength, a fortifying food or remedy. So today,
Wow.
yeah, cool. So today, restaurant is derived from the 19th century French word, which evolved from all that, restaureur, which means both to restore and to dine or eat.
Wow. I
That's
love
amazing.
that.
So cool. So I was like, we should start with some fun facts before we jump into what is soup.
they were incredible facts. You
Great.
can pick which one was my favorite.
Oh, yeah. Same.
I thought that was
Same.
going to be the whole segment. I was also cracking up because you were like, I've never written so many pages. And I'm like, did you put one word per line? Did you know?
There's much more. We're not done. It's all good.
Okay.
Oh my god.
So, on a more serious note, I'll try to
On
keep
just
it
one
light,
really big page. Soup comes from soup.
which means soup. So, soup is primarily categorized as a liquid food. I don't know if, like, I guess
yeah.
that makes sense, but I'm like, well, but it's chunky too. But no.
It's a chunky liquid.
Yeah.
If you've got a good soup, you've got
Okay, this actually gets interesting. So I'm excited that you're like, it's chunky. Okay. So this is because in soups, it's the liquid that's the main deliverer of the ingredients in the pot or bowl.
right. It's the nutrient broth
That's
that
right.
you're making.
But we don't want to confuse soups for stews. And do you want to guess why? And this isn't one of those
Right.
things where it's like all stews are soups, but not all soups are... Wait, did I just say the same? Whatever. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. What is the difference with a stew? I thought a stew had meat in it.
Well, no, a stew can be a veggie stew, but like
Okay.
in a stew, you put in just enough liquid to cover the ingredients and like slow simmer it. And then it goes through a reduction process where the liquids kind of like evaporate and thicken. And you end up with the hearty, chunky, and primarily solid food. So stews are solid food and soups are liquid food.
That is helpful to know. That should have been in
if
my
you're into
human
food.
orientation.
Welcome to Earth. Here's the difference between a stew and a soup.
That's right.
Please do not get them confused.
Yeah, so soups are usually made with meats and veggies, but the thing that makes them soups is that they're surrounded by plentiful broths, or they're incorporated into broth. It's a liquid. It's a liquid, no matter, even if you got chunkies in
spoon.
it. That's right.
You definitely need a spoon.
Well, I mean, you can sip. You can sip from a cup.
You could sip it, that's true.
Soup is wonderful. Generally served hot, but can be served cold as well. And here's something interesting.
Gazpacho.
Oh, we're gonna get into that. I mean, not really, but I'll mention it. Specifically, hot soups are made by boiling various solid ingredients to extract their flavors into the surrounding liquid, obviously, forming a tasting broth or stock. Do we know what the difference between a broth and a stock is?
Not at all.
No idea.
Oh my goodness, we are learning so much today. Broth is made from meat or veggies and is often seasoned. A stock, however, is primarily animal parts and mostly bone. Well, yeah, it's gross.
The vegetarian in me just recoiled a bit.
Yeah, same.
I had a housemate once that sharing houses is a chaotic journey, but I think everyone should do it at least once. But one of our housemates would put animal bones, like from chicken or lamb or whatever, on the pot in a thing of water and let it boil for hours.
They were making stock.
To try make stock, but they would let it boil so long the water evaporated and it was just a charred bone left in there.
Oh, well, that sounds like a fuck up.
I don't know what it was,
I don't
but
think
that
was on
happened
purpose.
on multiple occurrences.
That's disgusting and not on purpose. But let's jump into the classifications of soup. And there are two, according to the French anyway, classic French cuisine. I don't know, I'm sure there's more, but the French
trust
think
the
they
French
own
with
everything with food. So yeah, exactly. So there's clear soups and thick soups.
Rolls her eyes.
Are you French? Are you of French descent? Have I offended your people?
She's
Not-
Italian.
Not in the slightest, but it's like I just feel like I keep falling on French items, and so
Oh
I
yeah,
just
you're right.
All right.
You're right.
You were
I
meant
actually-
to be French.
I was writing so much about French stuff in this outline of soup where I was like, Lindsay's gonna be like on me about it because I know it's okay.
I don't.
The French own
I don't
everything.
want to be. I don't want to be this way.
I like be this way.
No offense to France, but like I don't care. Like I don't. Like I just keep accidentally caring.
We alienated some Ashleys and some Giannas and now an entire country. Wonderful.
If you're a French Ashley, I want nothing to do with you.
So clear soups. Let's focus on clear soups for a second. We got bouillons and consommes. Do we know what those are?
I know bouillon cubes.
Okay, that's something. Okay, so in the spoilers chat I posted for our friends to look at that little bowl of dark liquid with the leaf in it.
Yeah.
And Geist and Kick Mastermind had some guesses. They got kind of close. It was definitely a type of soup. They thought it was tea soup, which makes sense considering it looks like tea. But it's not tea soup. That is consomme. But let's do bouillon first.
Okay.
Bouillon is a simple savory broth or stock made from boiling fish, meat, or veggies in water for a short period of time. That's it. You can season it as well to give it some flavor, but that's it. It's just like a base for a soup. You can drink it on your own, like without anything, as a warm and comforting treat during a nice cold day. But usually it's used as a base for more complex soups, so you would throw like, chicken if you're into meat or like veggies in there and make like a nice hearty soup for yourself. Consommes are pretty cool in the sense that they're dark, as you can see there. It's a very nice dark amber. They're richly flavored. Broths and stocks, again, that have been meticulously clarified, which means filtered, traditionally using egg whites to remove virtually all fat and sediment from the broth or stock. Which I was reading, I was like, that's gross. Also, isn't there a better way to filter other than using egg whites? But here's why. Whipped egg whites coagulate during the heating process and efficiently bond to fats and sediments, which can then be easily skimmed off the surface, creating a very translucent soup. And the thing about
Oh.
very cool. And the thing about consommes is like These were basically all the rage until the 1980s with high society. It was like the fancy soup. You would order and be like, this is a delicious consommé. Like, I can taste.
This is like
I can taste the beef.
Aspic jelly that was so popular in the 50s. This was like the next step from a clear jelly to a clear soup.
Yeah.
I don't understand rich people. I want color.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I don't eat anything with animal anymore, but it makes sense. Like, it's basically the pure essence of, like...
The essence
whatever
of the animal.
that you're drinking in a liquid form. Yeah.
No.
But it fell out of favor after the 1980s because chefs started to experiment with fusion cuisine and, like, they offered new exciting options and kind of rich people were over it.
Yeah.
I bet you the people in the Yogurt Connection ring use their drug money to buy consommates.
Oh, for sure.
Because you were just like, it was there till the 80s.
Yeah, we're rich and fancy. We're perfect.
And we're buying rich soup.
Apparently, it's like hard to find consommes on menus now, but like it was always like you could get them all over the place back then. Yeah.
Wonder what they tasted like. Probably flavors.
Like beef or chicken or whatever it is. But I mean, that in theory, that seems disgusting to me. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but we're all vegetarian weirdos over here.
True. Yeah. Anyway, let's jump into thick soups. Nobody cares what.
Into thick soups?
Thick soups. That's right. Sorry, I keep looking back behind me because my cats are driving me insane. Anyway, thick soups. That's the second clarification. We just went over our clear soups, the bouillons and consommes, and now we have our thick soups. And it's
I'm a thick soup girl. I know this already.
I absolutely agree. So thick soups are simply variations of non-clear soups that all use different thickening agents and often incorporate light broths or stocks to add richer flavor to the mixture. Some examples are like puree soups, which is just like a simple vegetable soup thickened with starch. An example would be tomato soup, let's say. And everyone loves tomato. Well, I don't want to say everyone, but most people love tomato soup. It's a nice...
I feel like everyone loves tomato soup.
Yeah, it's nice and simple.
It's excellent.
Then you have bisques, which are obviously also thick, nice and thick, very heavily seasoned, usually made with shellfish and veggies, thickened with cream. Can you please stop? Sorry. Cats, I swear. It's like they're doing it on purpose.
What kills me is also parting the curtain.
He's doing it on purpose, I swear.
Oh, you're such a cat dad. Like you've got teacher/dad energy at the moment trying to deal with the kitties.
I love that. I'll take it.
I love that. I love that for you.
So an example of a bisque would be like lobster bisque. I've never had it, but apparently it's good. I've had mushroom bisques.
I've had it, can confirm it's good.
And then you have your cream soups, which use cream half and half and milk as the key ingredient. And then you can thicken it up with like a roux. Do you know what a roux is?
Yes.
Yeah, like a fat and flour mixture that you like blend and then like...
do on the bottom of the pan. You get all the flavors.
You know, yeah. So an example of that is like...
love a good roux.
Hell yeah. Cream of mushroom soup is like a cream soup. Yeah. And then you got
I
like...
love cream of mushroom.
More thickening agents for thicker soups like rice, lentils, flour, grains, pumpkin, carrots, pig's feet... and bird's nest, if you know what that is. So then we get into commercial products. So soup has been popular, as I have said, since like at least 20,000 BC, but the invention of canning in the 19th century made soup super popular. You see what I did there?
I did see what
Did you see it?
I loved the canning revolution. So much happened.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's very cool.
So we got two basic forms of canned soup, condensed and ready to eat. I'm sure you know the difference, but let's quickly go over it. Condensed soup is concentrated. It needs another can of water to mix, which doubles its volume. But it's nice because we don't like waste and we don't like garbage, so you can actually make condensed soup in smaller cans, which is good.
Yeah, this is like Campbell's.
Absolutely, it's like Campbell's.
Condensed tomato. Oh,
yep.
Delicious.
It really is.
It really is. It's perfect for everything, like bologneses. So good.
And then you have ready to eat.
Very hungry.
I told you. I warned you. You were warned. So then you have ready-to-eat soups, which just need to be poured out and heated up. Recent microwavable plastic cans have been made readily available for ready-to-eat soup, which made it even more popular and convenient. However, as we talked in previous episodes, plastic sucks, and I don't know how recyclable those are, because like if I'm pretty sure if plastic is like covered in like residual oils and shit, it's a lot harder to recycle, and they usually just toss it.
Yeah,
So
like
that's
I'm
not
pretty sure
good.
if your recycles aren't clean, they throw them away.
Right, exactly, yeah. And then also the whole canned soup mania thing happened, but then people were like, this is really bad for you. It's like packed with high levels of sodium, and that's not good for you. So manufacturers were like, that's cool, we'll make reduced sodium versions in response to the negative feedback. But I don't know about you, if you've ever had reduced sodium soup from a can, it's fucking gross.
It's not. You can taste the can more.
I have to put salt in it, which defeats the purpose, like completely. But yeah, since you mentioned Campbell's, today's Campbell's tomato, cream of mushroom, and chicken noodle soup are the 3 most popular soups in America. In fact, Americans consume approximately 2.5 billion bowls of these 3 soups each year. Billion with a B. Those 3 soups alone, 2.5 billion bowls.
Holy shit.
And just Americans.
That's like an appreciable fraction of the world's population all having soup in one day.
Yeah, and Campbell's. Not even like Progresso. Or is it Progresso? Yeah. It's fucking Campbell's.
Yeah. I didn't even realize, specific to Campbell's. Holy shit.
Like the cheapest of like the whatever soups.
The dollar soups.
Yeah, good for Campbell's though. There we are. Soups in a, I don't know how long that segment was. Too long probably, sorry.
And now we know a whole bunch of different soups to go try because I've had coconut milk sitting in my cabinet and had no idea what to do with it. And now I have several ideas.
Dude, soup. I'm not kidding. Soup, coconut milk and soup is amazing. Phenomenal. Soup is basically just amazing in general.
The juice is flowing. If anyone would like this very special soups for when you don't know what to eat poster, courtesy of Jean's brain, it will be available on the Patreon.
The soups are flowing.
Excellent.
The soups are flowing.
The brain soups are flowing.
I don't know about you, but I'm fucking hungry right now.
Yeah, I was going to say on that note, I reckon we wrap up so we can go eat. I am a hungry girl.
Everybody, if you're still here and you haven't run to the kitchen, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And an extremely extra special thank you to Cake Mastermind. Thank you so much for being our newest patron. If you guys want to hang out with us more, go ahead and hang out on Go Ask Alice Pod if Twitter still exists. And there's a link tree to everywhere else. Our Discord is always open. And we love Cake Mastermind.
We love Cake Mastermind.
We love Cake Mastermind. And we all celebrate. Bye.
I have to pee really bad.
Me too.
Me too.
Oh, okay. Too much water.